We are live. There we
Yes.
go. Beep, 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 beep. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Tim Murray, and oh boy, do we have a very special guest for you today. This is, I think, our sixth Elphaba interview, which is
Oh my God.
so exciting and so wonderful.
There's
I'm
so many.
s- there's so, but also never enough.
Never,
So many.
never enough. Yeah, I know. It's never enough. It's never enough.
Let's get this incredible Beltress in the mix. You know her from the Glee Project. You know her
Mm,
from Glee
mhm.
itself. You know her from Bear. You know her from Grey's Anatomy. And of course, she is our current reigning
Oh my
Alphaba. Ladies and gentlemen,
God.
look at the stage. Lindsay Pearce.
Yay! I just like am waiting for someone else to walk in. That's
How are
me.
you?
Oh my God, you did such a good job at reading my resume.
I have I have so much to talk to you
Oh my God,
about
talk to me
your
about all of it,
resume.
please.
First of all, Grey's Anatomy.
I know. You know what's funny is of all the things people want to talk about Bear all the time because I know it's on YouTube somewhere and it's a
Yes.
lot of people love to go and they find it and they watch it and it's the full show, which is like a rarity for things to not get removed on YouTube. Everybody wants to talk about Bear and everyone wants to talk about Grey's Anatomy, which is so I was only on one episode. I was dying of an abscess. In fact, drama. I was dying of a root canal had gone wrong. A root canal had gone wrong.
As they do. You gotta be
I,
careful.
I had lesions on my brain from this root canal. Maybe it happens. I don't know. They have nurses on set to be like, that's not a real physical thing that can happen. But apparently you can. So, get good root canals, I guess. And I
Don't
got
shoot
like
that on the root
an
canal.
infection. So my whole episode was me with a giant gauze patch stood to the side of my face, and I was in a bed the entire episode. I didn't stand up once during that scene. I didn't have to hit a single mark. It was a dream.
It's a
Patrick
dream.
Dempsey is gorgeous. Ellen
Oh
Pompeo
my
is
god.
gorgeous. Everybody's so
You
pretty on that set. It was
did you
amazing.
watch the show before you were on it?
Yes, I did. I'd watched the show, I think up to season like 6 or 7. And then it was just one of those like always on in the background.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anytime I'd like deep clean my house, or my apartment, I'd be like, like I have a house. Anytime I deep clean my apartment, I'd be like, are we doing Grey's Anatomy or are we doing like Boy Meets World?
Uh
Grey's Anatomy. I
the
know,
two of the
Sean.
greatest
Sean.
shows. Sean,
Sean.
still a crush to
There.
this day.
Still a crush to this day. Still someone that anybody without money can totally relate to. Um, I yeah. So that was. I get a lot of questions about Grey's Anatomy of all things because it's just so iconic. It's such an iconic show.
It's so iconic. You've
Yeah.
been a part of many iconic things. Grey's Anatomy,
Yeah. Glee.
Wicked,
Wicked.
Glee.
I know. Glee was huge too.
What? Where do I even begin with that?
Don't
That's
worry, girl.
like
I was still a hostess at multiple restaurants. Do not worry about it.
what restaurants?
Of course. There was a restaurant in Hollywood called Little Fork that I was a hostess at for forever. It was on Vine, Vine and something. It was right at Space 1520. It was that like that
I know
little, is
exactly what
that
you're
what
talking
that's
about. Yeah,
called?
yeah, yeah,
Like right by Amoeba. It was right
yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah.
And now
Oh,
it's
that's
been,
like
but now
tourist.
that
That's like
like
Times Square
right
of
right
LA.
on the right on the other side of Piano Bar, which all of that entire city block has now been like taken down and is a high-rise hotel something or other. But that was really fun. So every day after work, it was just like me and all of these other restaurant employees, and we'd go around the corner and we'd either go to Hotel Cafe or we'd go to Piano Bar and we'd get very drunk, and
Hell yeah.
we would sing along to literally. And if oh my God, God help us if Sweet Caroline came on, because you get a bunch of white people in one room and Sweet Caroline comes on and everybody loses their minds.
Every time you're
It
at a
was
wedding with a bunch of
yeah.
white people and
Oh
Sweet
my
Caroline comes
God.
on,
I
I
can't
was
blame
like a
you.
for a summer job. I know it's just too fun.
It's the
For
same
a
cruise
summer
ships.
job,
Cruise ships are the
it's
same.
cruise ships. I worked at
Cruise
a
ships.
resort where I was a
Yes.
moose. And I
Nice.
also
Slay,
we also
slay.
did High School Musical, and I was a moose, and I hosted karaoke and blackjack and bingo. Like it was just one of
Yeah.
those summer
Yeah.
stock
One of
jobs
those
when you're in
jobs.
college when they're like,
Yep.
"Come on, you're gonna," and you're like, "Okay,"
You're young and
and
competent and cute. Please come work for us. Yeah.
put on a moose head, put on a
Not a
moose head.
moose hat. I know. I
But
know.
I when I was doing that, I was hosting karaoke, and every single time people would be like, "Sweet Caroline."
Ba, ba, ba. Like every time. It was every time.
Lindsay
It went,
Pearce,
yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no,
You
no.
go.
I was just gonna say
I'm just so excited.
the last ship that I worked on was a really small luxury cruise line. And we were on one of the ships that was doing like a quasi world sail. So we had gone to pretty much every single continent except for South America and Antarctica. And there were people that were on with us, like older folks who were on with us who like had money, who were on with us for like 6 months, like for a while. Like we're on with us for 63 days, 87 days, 6 months. And they would come and see our shows multiple times. And the this particular cast, it was four singers and two dancers. And it wasn't like we were doing, Hairspray, or, it wasn't like a Norwegian or a Carnival or Royal or anything like that. We did like little 45-minute kind of like variety shows. So we did Palladium Nights, which was Shirley Bassey and oh my God, who else? Tom Jones. And so then of course Neil, the ender is Sweet Caroline, and I
You
have
gotta.
never seen in my life, I have never seen 50 plus aged people in a 150 seat house stand up and rush the stage.
Not rush the stage for
Yes,
Sweet
people would
Caroline.
come down to the front nice and slow, but like quick for them. Bless them. We're all going to be
Yeah.
there one day. We're going to be that person on a cruise ship one day. Maybe with that money, maybe not with that money. I don't know. But and I'm telling you, like on the one and the three,
Oh,
just,
always.
oh my God. And God love them because
I
they were asleep until that song came on. They slept through 45 minutes of hard work and then they woke up and were like,
it's our song.
oh, it's our song.
I'm now
Bless them.
envisioning them like lifting you up, and you are
Oh my
crowd
God.
surfing to Sweet Caroline.
They
It's
didn't,
like,
there were
ba,
people,
ba,
there were
ba.
people, our stage was like the front row, like their feet were on the stage. Like it was like a floor stage. Like it was like a dance floor. And it was called oh my God, no, our supper club was a different thing. I don't remember what it was called, but it was essentially like our little stage, our little performance area. And there would be people asleep, like in the front row, like with their cane or like their little purse or their book or their crossword puzzle, and they would be out for that whole show, that specific show, and they would wake up for that last number and give us a standing ovation because of that song. It's a
That
long story,
is
less long.
so
Neil.
Neil.
Neil
It's
Diamond.
Neil and Jimmy Buffett.
Neil and Jimmy.
Those
Oh
are their
my
kings.
God.
I
Margaritaville.
love Margaritaville was a big one. This resort where I worked at was mostly like
Hmm.
police officers and firefighters and like blue
Yeah.
collar workers from
Yeah.
Boston who would come up to this like beautiful but affordable. It wasn't
Yeah.
like rich
Yeah.
people.
They'd
They
come
were
to
just
get their sunshine and yep.
and
They'd
their
come to get
Jimmy Buffett
and their margaritas.
and
Yes.
their margaritas and their gay boys in a moose costume, and they
Oh,
were living.
I feel like that was my whole because I've only done two ships and one of them was Norwegian, and that was one of those big install. It was like After Midnight, which was a Smokey Joe's Cafe show, and then
Oh
our
hell
show,
yeah.
which was like a Brat Pack show. But those were huge Broadway caliber, big shows, lots of lights and tech and crazy stuff. And then you had like an actual Margaritaville, like up on the top, like 27th deck of this ship. No one no one went to anything but the Margaritaville.
Yeah,
It's
oh
like that
good.
was where everyone was. That's where everyone wanted to
That's where I'll
be. It
be.
was so funny.
when we were doing High School
Drinks.
Musical, it was the same thing. It was like in a theater in a bar. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it was just like all of these like straight middle-aged dudes
I know.
trying to drink. And they're like, I guess
I
High
guess
School
we're
Musical's
watching High
happening.
School Musical.
High School
I
Musical
guess we're
2,
here.
not even the first
Oh
one.
my God. I
Live on
love
stage.
performers so much. The shit
And
that we get
our
ourselves
opening
into.
night, the
I
girl
love
whose
it.
parents ran it was in Wicked with you, I think. Meg Doherty Scandal. She was my old roommate in New York.
I love this girl. She rehearsed
Isn't
with
she
me. She's the best. She
she's
rehearsed with
the
me and she
best.
opened a week and a half before I did. She's incredible. I've
She was
really,
my choreographer for that resort
she's the
job.
best. You know, she hadn't done theater in like 10 years.
I know. We
And
lived
then,
together
and
when I
Dan
first moved to New York City.
McKeechake called her and like ran into her on, of course, New York, ran into her and was like, "Hey, are you still doing theater?" And she was like, "Yeah."
Sure.
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
sure.
And he was like, "Great, we're having a Shin Shin audition. Can you be there?" And she went in and was like pretty much immediately cast, of course. I mean, have you seen her? She's fabulous. She's
Her voice is
fabulous.
unbelievable.
No one has ever sung like some terrible green blizzard throughout the land she flies. No one's ever sung it like Meg. Not one person. It gets me every time. I'm always like, "Oh,
I love that.
oh."
Ooh,
It's
ooh.
amazing. The top of Act Two is like
Well,
because of her.
she will tell you that she was choreographing this show and we started High School Musical 2 and the curtains opened on all of us. We're like, what time is it? What
Summertime.
summertime? Someone was pulling the curtains and they didn't teach the little kid to stop pulling.
Oh
So the
no.
curtains opened on us. What time is it? And then the curtains closed back on us again. We all just like erupted in laughter. We were
Bye.
like, show's starting,
Stupid.
show's ending. All right.
Oh my God. I want to talk about that kind of stuff for the rest of my life. Because
There's
no
nothing
one, no
funnier.
one gets it, but people that have done it, no one understands the joy of like summer stock or ship jobs or oh God, like Gorilla Los Angeles theater where you're getting paid like in drink tickets. And you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
and that person will so deeply understand the joy of somebody getting a show like Wicked. Like for like, oh my God, it's just what a journey. What a journey. Neil Diamond and that sweet boy opening up the curtain and then just closing it. Oh
It's
my
not. Do you have
God.
any wild theater stories like that from, do you have any like
Man.
theater mishap stories?
You know,
Putting you on the
I'm
spot right now. We can come
Here's the
back to it.
thing. Here's the thing. I have been sober for 2.5 years, so I'm
Hell
gonna
yeah.
say yes. I'm gonna say yes simply because there was a time in my life where I was not a sober person. So I'm gonna say absolutely. The ones that I remember, um, oh man, oh man, oh man. I have had Norwegian. I was doing my shift job on Norwegian. We were doing a John Hughes show, so it was called the For the Record the Brat Pack,
Oh,
and
hell yeah. Okay.
I'd been in For the Record different shows before, and we were doing the ship show. We were doing the Brat Pack, and I was playing Basket Case, who is also Watts from Some Kind of Wonderful. So we had to learn. I had to learn how to drum, how to drum kind of. And I drummed so hard that both of my sticks snapped. Both of my drumsticks snapped and flew into the front row and knocked this guy's Margaritaville drink, I'm assuming, all over him.
Of
And he
course.
was so drunk and so that guy that he was like, yeah, like just pointing at me and like screaming for me. Like not for my head, screaming for me to be the next president. Like he was so happy for me. And I just had to be like, because I knew that there could have been a lawsuit, there could have been something bad that would happen. And I just like, just a little side on my drums, I had little like holsters for extra sticks. Clearly, I'm a musician in case I broke them. And I was like, I just kept going, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be in so much trouble. And they were like, hey, just, we should always be checking, like it wasn't a me thing. They were like, we should always be checking the sticks to make sure they're not like, run down on one side and blah blah blah.
Covered in
I was
canola
like,
oil.
yeah,
They're gonna
yeah, yeah,
slip
yeah,
out of
yeah,
your
yeah. It just like flew. Oh my God, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that. I will never forget theater mishaps. I've had stuff like playing Cinderella. My fiance was playing my prince. This is back in like Merced, California, and the Merced Playhouse. And we had done the impossible transformation, and it was one of those like pull one part of the dress and it falls open, and pull one part of the dress, and then the fairy godmother is tugging at my skirt, and it basically
Yeah.
I would spin out of it. And it was basically just like miles of garment wrapped around my waist to cover up this beautiful dress that I had underneath. And I spun right off into the Vaughn, right off into the Vaughn, and fell down and got up and ran back on. And then there was, I think it was that same show. My crown that was hiding under, yeah, like I fell into the Vaughn and like took my kerchief off to be like, it was on purpose.
I'm
I'm
Cinderella.
transformed. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm gorgeous. And I ran back on and was like, okay, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And I'm a klutzy person anyway. I'm someone that I'm always tripping over myself. And it's not intentional. I'm so aware of so many things that I'm so physically unaware of myself at a lot of times. And there was another moment in that, I think it was the same performance, where my crown that was under the kerchief, I had to I had to run from the ball around the stage, get out of the dress into my actual Cinderella, like Cindy costume, and I couldn't get the crown off. It was like a
No.
comb, so it was stuck in my hair, and I think it had been like pinned, like I think it had been like bobby pinned in. So I'm like tugging at this thing, like trying to get it off, and I just remember saying something like, just cut it off, just cut it out of my head." And they were like, "We're in a community theater production of Cinderella. We're not cutting you out of your crown." And I just
Jaws of
remember,
life. Get the jaws
and
of
I
life in
just,
here.
yeah, and I just remember like holding on to it and saying, just pull it. Because I was so late. They were like, Cinderella! Cinderella! And there was so many ways that they chose to say my name that was kind of like a brilliant theater thing. You know what I mean? Like, what a fun
I'm
thing
so
for them
glad I
to
asked you
keep
that
like
question.
screaming. So there's my ugly stepsisters who were stunning, standing and going, and then they started copying my stepmother, and they were like, Cinderella, like they were making all these like crazy ways to say Cinderella, and meanwhile I'm backstage like, like trying to get this crown off my head. It was such a mess, and I was like 18 or 19, and I remember putting my hands on my head and saying, just pull it, and they just like pulled it out, and sure enough it was like all tangled up in my hair, and so there was just like a little chunk, like not my scalp, but like a little chunk of hair gone.
No.
Yeah, and then right after that, literally we closed like a week later, and then I went and I auditioned for Glee Project.
Stop it. Okay. But
Yeah.
before we get into Glee Project, which we have to get in, but I have to tell you the story because I've never told it on the pod and you just reminded me of it. I was
Please.
doing a college production of Hamlet
Oh
and I
my
was
God.
Horatio. It's good. It's about to get
Oh
bad.
my
I
God.
was
Oh
Horatio.
no.
So I was like in the back, like
Yeah.
watching the sword fight that happens at the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And two straight boys are playing Hamlet and Laertes.
Yeah, yeah,
Something.
yeah.
And they are having their big sword fight, right?
Yeah.
But there were high school students in the audience this day and they were cracking
Hyped.
up laughing.
Oh, okay.
They
For
like thought
sure.
it was, they were like making fun of the boys on stage who were
Sure,
having
sure,
this sword
sure.
fight. And the boys, some straight men in musical theater and theater um, were, their egos were very damaged by
Sure,
this.
sure,
So
sure.
they started taking the sword fight at like triple the speed it normally was. And so their swords are just like, they're like trying to look more
So
aggressive so that
so scary.
the kids
Yeah.
stop laughing. Yeah. And it was literally
Yeah.
like, oh God,
Yeah.
they're hitting the swords. One of the swords flies out of their hands into the audience and not the sharp
Oh,
part, but the other
the
end of it
hilt.
hits
Yeah.
a woman in the chest. And we were all literally, the entire audience went, And then everyone, we just kind of froze. I mean, the thing went flying into the audience,
Oh my
and
God.
the
Ugh, I
guy
shouldn't
next
be
to her,
laughing. Did she live?
it was
Is
funny.
she
She was fine.
alive?
She
Okay,
was
great.
totally fine. It did the sharp part didn't hit her, the like holster hit her,
Oh my
but it
God.
was like, and the guy next to her just picked up the sword and like threw it back
Oh
on
my
the
God.
stage, and it was just like clank, 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 clank. And then the guy playing whichever one of them dies just pretended to die. And then after the show, the boys were told they had to apologize to this woman, which they did. It was
Of
horrible.
course.
They go to apologize to her. This woman was blind. She had been watching, not watching, she had been taking the show and she'd been listening to it. And out of fucking nowhere, these straight boys threw a sword at her and it hit her out of nowhere. She was so lovely and so forgiving, but like, can you
I
imagine?
wasn't
You go to take.
expecting that twist. You just like,
Neither was
you're
she.
not seeing anything, and I'm not trying to like make fun of anybody who doesn't have their sight, but like you're just, you're listening. You can't see anything, and
You're
it's out of
taking.
nowhere.
You're
You just
listening.
get like, oh,
You think you're completely safe in this space,
oh
and
my
then these
God,
boys throw shit at
oh
you.
my God.
So that was the craziest thing that's
That's
probably ever
that
happened to me
makes
on
me
stage.
that's painfully hilarious, literally and figuratively, and also that makes me so nervous.
Nervous. Stage combat stuff
Nervous.
makes me so scared. And
So
she was so chill
nervous.
about it. Thank God.
Oh, thank God.
She was like, it's fine. She was like, it, you know, she wasn't
Yeah.
like, it happens because it doesn't.
Doesn't.
But
Yeah.
she was like,
It
this was
shouldn't have
definitely
happened.
strange, but I'm okay. Like,
Great
okay.
performance.
Great. Yeah. She was like, loved
Wow.
it. She was like, wonderful.
Well, and if you don't
Um,
see what's going on, you must be like, wow, they're really getting into it. You know what I mean?
right. It must have
Wow, it's
sounded
getting
like it
it's getting
was,
like it's
yeah.
escalating. Like the fight's about to end, and then it's like, well, no, you
And
are.
then, yeah, something's going to get thrown at
Yeah.
you.
Oh my God.
Okay, the Glee Project.
Yes.
I have so many questions.
Okay.
My main question is, and you might not know the answer to this, but was this the casting for the Glee Project? Was that related to that MySpace phenomenon that happened, or was that something else? There was a MySpace audition that
Yes.
like that was like
That broke the internet.
you sing one of 8 songs. You broke the internet. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah. And
Was
yes.
that
Yes, it was.
that was
There
this?
was MySpace auditions. Yeah. And it was something like 180,000 auditions. I don't think just from MySpace. I think it was like tape auditions and like sending stuff in and then also the MySpace auditions. But yeah, that was people you picked
180.
out of 8. It was like Valerie or Toxic by Britney Spears or like I'm Not Going from Dreamgirls. Like there was all these like
Rain on My
songs
Parade,
that
Lean on
Ran
Me,
on My Parade,
and
Lean on
True
Me,
Colors.
True Colors. Oh my God, which we ended up doing pretty much every one of those songs on the show, because because they had the rights to them. So
Right.
yeah, it was yeah that was directly related to that. Yeah.
Did you have to do one of those, or did you get Glee Project in a
Oh.
different way?
I got Glee Project in a different way. Modesto, California. I lived there for pretty much all of my life, and I had recently auditioned for. I had applied to a couple colleges, and I got an audition for Elon University because they have an amazing BFA program, and I
Hmm.
desperately wanted to go there. And I was not able to physically audition for the other colleges, and I was not accepted by any of those. And then I was denied by Elon State University. So I was like, oh, and I was going to Modesto Junior College at the time. I had left high school when I was 16. My private Christian high school, I left it when I was 16 because there was no drama program. So I was like, how can I finish my schooling but also do theater at like
Yeah.
at a decent level, and learn a lot as a young person. And so I would go to high school in the morning from like 7 a.m., 8 a.m. until like noon. And then from noon and on, I was a full-time junior college student. So I
Damn.
was doing their productions of Midsummer Night's Dream, which is How I Met My Fiance, and Oklahoma, and tons of Oedipus Rex. Like I was trying to get my foot wherever my foot would stick, really. And then I was like, okay, I'm 19. I'm gonna have to do one more year, I think, of this here. And I'm gonna have to raise money to be able to pay for my college credits because I didn't have to pay rent. I lived at home. And I was like, I'm gonna have to get money to be able to pay for my college credits through the fall semester, and then also my application fees for the spring semester, which is when all the auditions are. So, long story less long, as I burp up my green apple, which is apparently not what they're supposed to make you do. Um, I there was a talent competition happening at the Gallo Arts Center, which is basically the center in downtown. It's a huge performance building, and that's where all of the tours come. Whenever something's touring, it goes through the Gallo Center. And it was brand new. This was 10, 11 years ago. Oh my God. It was like 10 or 11 years ago. And they were like, we are doing something called Valley's Got Talent. And I was like, okay. And I kid you not, I have an audio somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. I have an
Uh-oh.
audio somewhere. Sarah Hosner. So Sarah Ortega, who is originally from this area. She's from Anaheim. She was the coordinator of this whole thing. And I said, okay, I'll audition for this thing. The grand prize is $750. That's plenty of money to be able to pay for my little college credits. This is like back in 2010, I think, 2010. And I said, maybe I can win the grand prize. That would be amazing if I could win the grand prize. So I went to a friend's house and I torrented a very fast version of The Wizard and I karaoke. It was so fast. And then I sang The Wizard and I and recorded it at his house and burned it onto a CD. Oh my God, I'm aging myself. I burned it onto a CD and then
I
I
remember doing
dropped it off
that.
at her house. I dropped it off at her house and I said, Lindsay Pearce, she calls me lucky number 4 because I was the fourth audition that she put in. She put in my CD and she was like, that girl's gonna win. And which was so sweet, so nice. And I like immediately, and she put me at the end of the show, so I was the closer. And like she really wanted me to win, and I did. I won. And the guy that one of the judges for that specific talent competition was Robert Ulrich, who cast for the Glee Project and for Glee, and was one of the mentors on the show. So if you can hear the sirens, it's just my wedding bells. We love Anaheim, and yeah, I won that competition and met him and like took pictures and yada yada. And he's a sweet, lovely man. And I started getting ready towards the end of the year to apply again, to begin applications so that I could then audition in the spring. And I was getting so stuck on my essays and just like trying to, I don't know, explain to people how I'm worthy of their time, basically. I was having a really
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
time with it.
yeah. Yeah.
And my mom was like, why don't you message Robert Ulrich? Didn't he friend you on Facebook? Like, he probably has some tips. He has a son that's your age. Like, why don't you just message him and like ask for his 2 cents? I said, okay, nerve-wracking. So I did.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be pandering. I didn't want to be like, hi, Hollywood casting director. And so I messaged him and he went, what is your phone number? I'm going to give you a call in like 5 minutes. And he called me and he was like, hey, would love to talk to you about the college stuff. And he was like, but that's a long conversation for a different time and I'm in the office right now. And I was like, ooh, your cool casting office in Valley Village? Cool. And
Stress
he was like,
times.
yeah, I know, I was like, and he goes, I'm sweating right now talking about it. And it's not just the Anaheim heat. He goes, he was like, so I can't tell you to audition because it's a conflict of interest. He's like, I can't tell you to audition, but we have auditions happening. And he sent me the link to the MySpace stuff. And he was like, you can submit here, or if you would like, there's the jingle, give my assistant an email, like here's my assistant's email. If you want to audition, you let her know and we'll set up a time for you, blah, blah, blah. Because like I didn't have an agent, I didn't have nothing. And So he was giving me all these avenues in which to audition. And so I did. I got done with that Cinderella production and I drove my little butt down to Los Angeles and I stood in that blue room where all the Glee stars have auditioned, that blue wall at Robert's casting office. And I sang and sang and sang. And I didn't sing well because, funny enough, I was sick and I refused to say that I was sick. Like I was post-show sick, like when you get done with a show and you just get fucking sick
Yes.
out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
your body is like,
You've
I've
just been
been
like holding on to fake
going for so
health for
long. Yeah.
so long. Yeah. So I went and I was like, the one thing I might not know much, but I know that you don't tell anybody that you're sick when you audition for anything. So I refused to say anything to him. So that happens, and then he literally gets done, and he goes, I'm looking at the dog. He goes, "Are you sick?" And I was like, "No,
No,
no."
this is what I sound like.
Yeah, I was like, no, I sound like shit all the time. No, and it was like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good, So I got done and, uh, and he was like, great. And I felt kind of bad about it, but I knew that I'd done my best. So I go away and then get called. Like, bless him, he'd seen me do something before, and it was very sweet of him to like give me a chance. And and I got done with that, and I went away, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take this as a sign that like I did the one cool Hollywood audition, and I did it. And then
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get my BFA and I'm gonna move to New York and I'm gonna be a star and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I didn't do any of those things. I got done with that, went home, and then a couple months later I got an email that I would be doing the callbacks. And I think our callbacks were like in Long Beach or something. Well, I just remember us all staying in a hotel and it was like Hannah and Damien and Bryce. I mean, everybody was there, and we were there for like a week, and we were just singing and singing and singing and dancing and dancing and dancing, and then all of that ended, and we have all of these amazing photos of us like real babies, like I'm talking early 2010s. Like this is like 2010 at its finest. Everybody has a little like tank top under their like V-neck sweater. It was a whole. Everybody had like cute little.
That was the look.
It was the
Uh,
look. Everybody had multiple tank tops on, layered polos,
uh,
like the Converse, green Converse. It was such a
yes.
time. It was everybody had the Justin Bieber haircut. Like it was such a
Oh
time. And
God.
I know. And then and I had like huge scene kid bangs, like really big, like like swoopy bangs across my forehead. I don't understand. Thank God they didn't really make it. They didn't really make it onto national television, but they were there once. And so I got done with that and went, I've done it, cool. And then they Skyped everybody to let us know if and even if you hadn't made it, you would still have gotten a Skype call. So they called everybody, blessed them, to let them know that it wasn't going to go forward.
Oh,
And then
that's really
they
nice.
called 12 of us to let us know that we had gone forward. And I could not believe it. And then, yeah, we all left. We had X amount of time to get our stuff together, and then we moved to Glendale, to the mountains of Glendale. We filmed in a camp in the mountains of Glendale called Camp Max Strauss. And when I say camp, I mean literally in the woods. And like we had a breakdown. This fly. We had a breakdown of like, hey, this is what you do if a tick falls on your head. And then it was like, hey, if you see these eyes blinking in the distance, it's a coyote. So like,
Don't mess with it. Yeah.
and like LA is known for their mountain lions. So like, let them know that you're not afraid. And like, if it,
Welcome to TV. LA.
yeah,
LA's known for their
welcome to
mountain
TV.
lions.
And they were like, please dress for LA weather. And we were like, okay, LA weather is like warm.
Huh. Yeah.
It's warm. And we get there in February and it rained for the whole first month. So we didn't have like warm shoes. We didn't have like jackets. So they had to get like those like big film ski jackets and they gave all the
Yeah.
girls Uggs. They gave all the girls
2010. Come on
not
now.
waterproof,
Yeah.
not waterproof Uggs. And then they got all the boys wellies, like rain
Oh,
boots. So it was just like it became a
no.
game of like who was gonna steal whose shoes. It was hilarious. And then finally, like the weather, by like week 7, the weather was beautiful.
Oh my
But it
God.
was really funny. It was like it really was like camp, and because it was the first season of the Glee Project, we were like little guinea pigs. And then I remember meeting the season 2 cast. They had got done filming, and we all met each other in New York for the NBC Universal Oxygen upfronts. And they were like, "Did you stay on Sunset Boulevard too, in like the real world house?" And we were like, "No,
No.
no, we didn't do
No.
that."
Mm-mm.
The what?
You're like, the third act of Parent Trap when she's
Literally
surviving for her life. It's
exactly that. It was
that.
exactly that. It was truly it was like act 1 and act 3 of Parent Trap. It
Oh my
really it
God,
really
the
was, which would
camp in the
also be a
beginning.
great musical, by the way. Why hasn't that happened?
Oh, I want to see that
That would be
so bad.
amazing.
That movie, oh, it is so good.
Yeah.
Both
So
versions,
good.
so good.
But that was,
I,
that was my Lindsay Lohan time at camp.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Did
was
you?
my yeah.
I had the Search for Elle Woods girls on we did a full like reality TV
I'm obsessed with
reunion.
those women.
Right?
I'll
Did
never
you watch
forget
that
it.
show in
Yes,
real
I'll
time?
never forget it. I will never forget all of them singing on bikes. I'll
It
never forget it.
was
I will
a
never.
cultural
I was like,
reset.
this is what it takes to be on Broadway.
So you have to do. You have to do spin bike
And then
and belt.
MTV went and like also showed the show, like showed Legally Blonde, the musical, and I was like, I'm never gonna be able to do that shit.
No,
Like I was like, get whipped into shape, girl. Like I was like, oh,
girl,
that's not
no.
not me. Clearly I'm not an Elle Woods anyway. Like I'm a Vivian, but I was like, there's no. Even when Vivian comes out and she's like legally blonde, I'm like, oh, I can't do that. No. I was like,
Exactly.
maybe one day, I'll be like an Orpha. There's no way. There's no way. But I'll
There's no
never forget
way.
it. Oh my God, please tell me more about the
It
search for it.
was everything. I mean, it was so much fun to interview because it's all on YouTube. The whole thing's on YouTube.
Yes.
So at the start of
Thank God.
quarantine, I would watch it every single night.
Yeah.
I was just taping myself reacting to it because I watched it in real time, but I
Yes.
was rediscovering it and I was like, this is way more insane than I ever
It's
even. At the
insane.
end of every episode, Bernie Telsey looks one of them in the eyes and says, Lindsay, you're cut. They have to walk. If you get passed on,
Awful.
you go off into the wings. And if you get cut, they make you walk through the theater to the
And
back of the
out.
it was I mean, the things some
That
of the
gives
things
me
they put them
hives. That's
through.
the
I mean,
hives.
truly, truly.
It very much felt that way. Not in the same like we didn't get cut immediately. It was like we all went away knowing how good and or bad it went in like the Sing for Your Lives and like the final performances. And then they would put everybody else that was safe. So anybody that weren't in the bottom 3 would go back to Camp Max Strauss and like go hang out in the dorm rooms, which were just cabins, or like hang out in like the main sitting area, and they would talk about what they
Was
thought of
happening.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we would stay. We being literally anybody who was ever in the bottom 3, which is all of us. We would all just like hang out and wait to film things like waiting in our little dressing rooms underneath the stage, like it like because we
Yeah.
filmed in the oh my God, the Japanese American theater institution. It was like in Japantown in Los Angeles. Is a
Yeah.
huge beautiful theater, and that's where we filmed all that stuff. And we would have to like sit and like but like actually be going through it and they just like
Yeah,
camera in
yeah.
your face. I remember having like a really bad cry after one of a really bad night and being like, "Can you guys leave me alone?" Like I actually like I forgot that we were working and I was like, "I can't, guys, this is what you want?" Like I remember being like, "You want this?" Like you want
Yeah.
this?
You want
But it was like,
that?
I did an interview today this morning with kids in the UK who were like, would you do it again? I said, oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think there's a beauty to reality television because like it's really fun to watch the train crash when you're not on the train. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's really
Yeah.
fun to watch that stuff and we're kind of obsessed with it. And like, we've grown up with like keeping up with the Kardashians and all this stuff. And I don't think there's anything wrong with reality competition television, but it's so scripted and then it's also so not scripted and then things get like I didn't realize until doing a reality television show like all of those like confessional
Yeah.
interview moments where you're like against like a green screen and you're put like there's like a purple spotlight behind you or something and you're
Yeah.
talking about someone's drama or something that happened. Usually it's like 3 in the morning and you've already gotten done with the whole, you know what I mean? Like, and that was
Yeah.
my experience. And I've also heard other people's experiences and that's hard for the performer, that's hard for the talent, and that's hard for the crew. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's rough, and at least
Search
it
for Elle Woods
was.
girls were saying that that iconic bike scene that we know and love,
Ooh,
they were on those spin
for
bikes for
hours.
8 hours.
That makes me so
It's
sad. Like
it's
it's
really
funny, but it's
sad.
not funny. It's
Yeah,
not funny.
exactly.
Like hindsight 2020, you're like, yeah, that's hilarious, but how many of them still carry wounds from that experience? You know what I mean?
All
Like
of it. I mean,
I know for a fact. I mean, I'm not trying to like call out any names and you can edit this out if you feel even though we're live. But like
I can edit it
I've talked to
after.
like McKinley and Hannah and like Alex Newell and we've all like because people still want to know about Glee Project because a
Yeah.
lot of people that we know grew up with it. And so many times we're just like, girl, it was 10 years ago. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't have anything amazing to say other than how grateful I am for what it gave me.
Yeah.
And like that there somewhere in the world there's 11 other people from my season that feel exactly the same way about that experience and that if we all were to see each other we'd be like
We did that
we did
together.
that. And it's
Yeah.
and I actually compare that to like ship life, where like you don't get what ship life is until you've done ship life or like summer stock. You don't know what that
Yeah.
is until you've done it. And then you like see your comrades and you're like, yes, like, we did it. And
We've
you're
been
like,
through it
been through,
together.
we got through the war. Yeah. It's like,
We
it's
got through the war.
kind of bananas, but we were also, it was also an amazing experience. And
It
yeah,
is it's an interesting thing. It's like, yeah, it's exactly what you're
because
saying. It's like
you
we
only see
love,
what they give the final approval for and
right.
so many
What
conversations happen that don't get shown and
what I want to be like a beacon of hope or like I don't know what I'm trying to say, like correct about that specific thing, especially for the Drag Race girls, the Search for Elle Woods girls, you,
yeah.
anyone. I think what we love about reality TV normally is our ability to watch people who are fine with coming off in a
Not
certain
great.
way,
Yeah,
not great.
yeah. Yeah.
But when it's
Guys.
artists, it's harder to take as
Yeah.
for people like us who've done the summer
Yeah.
stock with these people, who've
Yeah.
done the cruise ship with these people. Some of
Yeah.
the drag race stuff really hurts when seeing your friends up there who you lived with in New York or
Love
you
and yeah, and know them.
yeah,
You know
you
their
know them and
hearts. Yeah.
seeing them portrayed in a certain way, or just seeing somebody not at their best, and
Yeah.
because
Or
we
something
all
taken
are.
out of context, or someone on their
Yeah,
bad day, and that's the one thing that they use. And I get it because it's gripping, it's storytelling. I mean, I was the
yeah.
pariah of my season. Everybody hated me. I got hate letters sent to theaters that I worked in with pictures of myself cut into 1,000 pieces and telling me to go slit my wrists. Like
Lindsay,
it's
no,
absolutely, absolutely. And still to
that
this
is
day, still to this day, there's moments where someone will message me on Instagram or Twitter and be like, "You're such a see you next Tuesday because you broke Cameron and his girlfriend up." And I always, young me wants to be like, that was a direction. Someone told me to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't do that of my own like bitchy volition. Somebody, my elder and my director told me to do it, and I blindly believed that someone had told him or that
Yeah.
someone that this was set up and yada yada. I didn't realize that I was being set up. But also 29-year-old Lindsay is like, "Oh my God, what? It's been 10 years."
It's been 10 years.
I
If
don't even
you
think
are
if Cameron and I
still
walked down the street, I don't even think we'd recognize each other. Like, what do you mean? You thought Cameron and his high school sweetheart were destined to be together forever? Okay. Like I can't, but that's the petty, but also like the higher me is like, did you just watch it? Like
which
seriously. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, you must have just watched it.
Yeah,
But I
you must
also
be deep in
I
your
get comments,
emotion.
I get comments on YouTube. I get comments everywhere where like, I love Lindsay, but God, she's such a see you next. Like she's such a cunt. She's such a bitch. And you're like,
How that is that
I don't know. Like, okay, fair. I mean, trust me, I'm not perfect. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, you're wrong. Like, you're wrong. Girl, I'm sober. I have done a lot wrong in my life. Like, believe you me, I know my best and my worst. But for like 16-year-olds to message me and be like, I can't believe you. I'm like, you were 4.
yeah.
You were like 4 or 5 when that
Go
show.
to
What
bed.
do
Yeah, why
you
were
mean?
you awake?
Babe,
It is
babe.
it's a real bummer. And this always happens. I always get real Brene Brown on this podcast. But
Oh, we
she
love
always
Brene
says, we
Brown.
love Renee. She says if you don't have the relationship, it is
Mhm.
so wrong and shit to like even try to make that, that connection with somebody. Even if you are deep in your emotion, you're watching TV, you're
Yeah,
feeling this shitty thing,
yeah.
go for a walk. Do
I
not
know.
message somebody on the internet.
I know.
My really good friend who was my roommate in New York for many years was got the villain edit on this season of Drag Race.
Bless.
And
Bless them. I'm so
it's
sorry to hear that. It is
it's
hard.
been
It's
horrifying to watch,
to
to
watch.
like, just like posting a picture of us from 2010 or whatever. Like the
Yeah.
man has been putting on wigs for 7 years, just trying to do his damn
I
thing,
know.
and then having
We're
people
just trying to
respond to it
make it.
saying, yeah, saying the things that they're saying. It's like, all
I
right,
know.
that. And that's
I
why,
know.
to segue, I have felt such extreme joy watching you and the other women do that
Oh my
Elphaba
God.
compilation video. I was like, I
Yeah.
just want to put a little joy into this fucking
It was
world.
so good. I had multiple people send me that and be like, "Have you seen this?" And I was like, "Oh my God." And it was like one of those like my phone had been down for several hours and I picked it up and I just watched you go, "I love Stephanie J. Block." And then you said something like, "This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm so sorry. I love you. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me." And I was like, "I know you." I know you. And again, another thing just to like end the Glee Project thing, because like, yes, so
Yeah.
very grateful. So grateful for Glee, so grateful for Glee Project. It was 10 years ago. I'm so grateful. It will never not be on my resume. It will likely never leave my reel, even when I'm 60 years old. But it was 10 years ago. And Idina Menzel was our second mentor. She was our theatricality, our second week mentor. And then when I went to film, my Buenos Aires episode on Glee, she was the opposing
Vocal
club,
adrenaline
yeah.
coach.
And so
Yeah.
she was there and she was like, "Hi." I think she was there in the first episode as well. I don't remember. But she was like, "Hi." And then Gallo Center bringing it all back around to Gallo Center. I auditioned for that thing with Wizard and I. Then Adina was playing the Gallo Center and I happened to be in town and someone gave me tickets because they knew that I knew her. And I was like, I do not know Adina Menzel. Let's make that very clear. Even to this day, I do not know Adina Menzel. And if Adina Menzel was kind enough to remember me and or pretend to remember me, I would lick her shoes. So
Adina, Adina,
Adina,
you gotta
babe,
get together with Lindsay,
babe.
babe.
But so
Babe.
I was there, I was in the Gallo Center, and someone mentioned to her, "Hey, that girl from Glee Project is out." And she was like, "Lindsay's here, send her back," because I had done Glee. So she was like, "Oh my God, you're here." And it's just like she's never not been the coolest. And there's I posted a picture the day the day before I opened, I think it was either the day before, it was the day that I debuted as Elphaba, and I posted a picture of her and I hugging at the Gallo Center, and was like, "This is just really cool for me. This is really
That
cool
is
for me.
I have
It's really
chills.
cool." And then that video went out, and I was watching it on this couch over here, and I watched it happen, and I kept going, "Oh my God," because I knew who was going to be in the video. But I feel like people forget that, like, I'm a fangirl of Stephanie J. Block and Shoshana Bean and Eden Espinoza. I fucking fangirl over Jessica Vosk, for God's sake. Like, if Jackie Burns was to walk through my house, I'd be like, oh, like I would lose my mind,
Projectile vomit.
because these are
Projectile vomit.
women that, like, I admire, and it takes a certain kind of gal to play Elphaba, and it just, oh my God, Rachel Tucker, get out of here, I can't.
Get out of here.
Get
Every single
out
one of
of
them.
here, every single
It
one,
brings
and
me.
and it was amazing to see them all us all side by side. I can't. I just said it. I can't. And
It's
it was amazing
real.
to see all of us side by side, and how Elphaba we all are, and yet none of us are alike. Not one of us sound alike. Not one of us have the
Yeah, it's
same
so true.
thing that we do. And it was so cool. And as everybody kept popping up, I was like, oh my God. And then Lindsay Mendez, who's one of my favorite performers of
That
all
voice.
time, also a California girl, call me Lindsay Mendez. And she's an AY, which I just love.
What's
So
an
Lindsay with an AY.
Oh.
Lindsay with an AY. We're
I was like, is
we're
that
a
a secret
rarity.
club? She's an
We're a
AY. Okay.
rarity. Yes. Like Lohan. Lindsay,
Oh,
call me.
that's
So,
the three. Those are the three big Lindsays.
and
Lindsay
when I
Pearce,
watched
Lindsay
you have
Mendez,
that
Lindsay Lohan.
reaction video, you and I had the same reaction when it was like, to those who ground me, take a message back. And that no one says message like Adina Menzel. She goes, take a message back. And I was literally like,
And you're with them, girl.
I was
And
like,
it's
oh my
real.
God.
And
And then
it's
it got done.
true.
And then the kept going. And I was like, ah, I was like, what's happening? It was crazy. It was absolutely insane. I watched it with my jaw on the ground. I was like, whoa. And then Steven watched it, my fiance, and he was like, you're in this. And I was like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want
You're
to talk about
belting
it.
your butthole off
Oh,
in
I don't
that.
have a butthole anymore. It's gone.
It's gone.
It's
It's
gone.
long
She's
gone.
gone. I
When speaking
know.
of losing your butthole, when you were doing those Glee episodes, were you like
Oh my
on
God.
cloud nine? I mean, you also
Yeah.
came in with such a damn splash. Like I remember watching that with my college friends and being like, "Look at her
Yeah.
fucking getting her ass." Your
Yeah.
storyline was that you were like the one to beat.
Yeah.
How? I
It
mean,
was kind of,
what?
it was, it was it was definitely wild. It was one of those things that, like, Glee Project had really prepared me for the recording process and the rehearsal process and getting your fittings and all of that. And I'll never forget getting a knock on my apartment door and having the script delivered to my house for the episode. And I was like, wow, oh my God, I've made it. A script's getting delivered to my house by an assistant. And I was like, that has not happened since, by the way. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so fucking cool.
That's really cool.
It was wild, and like all my stuff was already high. It was fucking crazy. And I by the way, sorry I'm cursing so much. But it
We
really,
love it.
I couldn't no one had prepared me for actually doing scenes with anybody, let alone scenes with like the top billed actors of the show.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I remember watching that back, and being like, I don't think I blink once in that whole performance. Like in any of them, I think I'm just like this. I'm like all eyes, all teeth, and red lips. Like I'm just like I'm a fucking crazy person, which worked for the character, but it wasn't
Yeah.
like a choice. I didn't know what I was doing. I was so just like trying to make choices and like just trying to not hold people up. Basically, I didn't want to be the person that like needed 1,000 takes or anything like that, and I wasn't. But
That's so
it was my
wild.
first job. My first day on the job was the first day of filming of season 3. So it was like
Damn.
everybody was on set, everybody was there, and I was like, ooh. Crazy, really, really crazy.
It's really iconic. Like when I think about, I mean, I was a diehard for that show,
Yeah.
and when I think about like the biggest moments of the show, you doing that anything goes number is
Yeah.
so high on that list. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
It was weird. It was weird to have these first experiences of like having a song that's on the charts and having like that's on iTunes
Yeah,
charts and like I didn't get
yeah,
like crazy. I think I got to like 12, which is still high. Or like 14 or something like that.
that's really high. Yeah,
Yeah, and I just remember as I got older and those clips of I haven't watched the whole thing through in quite a while. But like I get sent clips a lot of like people like on Instagram stories or some Broadway Belts account on Instagram with like me doing Buenos Aires or anything goes anything you can do and I'm just like wow they really did not show my feet once.
for the I do like an Elphaba escape room for this podcast. I put out clues every time, and I've
Yeah.
just put out tap shoes for your clue, and everybody was like Stephanie J. Block, Stephanie J. Block. I was like, you guys, the clue's not that easy. You got to think outside the box. And then of course, as soon as I was
Wow.
like, it's not Stephanie, everybody's like, it's Lindsay Pearce.
Which is so funny because I literally cannot tap. They gave me a private lesson and then like a real lesson with everybody and I nope. There's literally one moment where they have like a close up of my feet. I think it's two on that episode and it's me doing flap and tick and flap and kick and I'm literally just going step touch back and step touch back because I couldn't flap. I can't do it. I don't have the ankles. I don't understand. I
Tap
don't know.
is yeah, no, tap is
That's
too hard.
hard. It's
I'm
hard,
not.
and I never got into it. I never got good at it. And then they were like, "Well, what can she do?" And then they saw me like mess like they put me in the middle of like the buffaloes and like the little things, and it was like they were like, "Okay, that's all we need. We just need like one moment of her being like, fuck you." And so that's literally what I'm doing. And then for Buenos Aires, anything like there was like some dancey flamenco stuff, and I was like, can't do that either. So they just worked around me, and God bless those boys, like Kent Boyd, and like just everybody was. They just had like every incredible person from So You Think You Can Dance ever there, just like throwing me
Yeah,
around, and they were all so nice, and they did not make me feel stupid, and yeah. It was an amazing
that's
experience. It
badass.
was an amazing
I
experience, and it was also interesting to be on a set of a show that had such a reputation and that had
yeah.
such clout and it is a machine. Glee was such a machine, and to watch it be run, it was kind of nuts to just be like a tiny little screw and a tiny little cog of the big wheel.
Yeah.
It really was just like get your shit done.
Go, go,
Yeah,
go.
go, go,
That's
go.
wild.
Yeah, and there was not like a lot of downtime, and because once it was time for you to film, it was like we're filming from every angle. Like they'd film from below us if they could. It was really wild, and they knew what they were doing. And these people had to like be inside the numbers as well. So you just have to like try to not hit anybody. Like
Not, not
it was
punch a
pretty
camera,
wild.
guys. Camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was always
That's
somebody behind
crazy.
him, like with their hand on his back, being like, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't
Don't
fall,
fall,
don't fall,
don't
don't fall.
fall.
Yeah. It's just nuts. Absolutely nuts. Wild.
People in the comments are asking questions. Sarah Fortino, thank you for
Oh.
your question. Jordan Smith wants to know, how did it feel to fly in Defying Gravity for the first time? And then he said, you're an incredible musician.
Oh, thank you so much. The first time that I ever flew was at 10:30 a.m. on like a Thursday. And they were the first time that I ever flew, they were basically testing the claw, around me to see if they needed to change it from me to Hannah. And they didn't, which is very kind because Hannah is this big and I'm not this big. So they were like, "Oh, she's the same size as Hannah," and I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." Literally a size two, and I'm like, "Oh my God, you're so nice to me." But the first time that I flew, it was, there was like some guy sweeping the house, and it was like the lights in the house were up, so I could see every seat, and I could see the ground, and I could see everybody else, and I went up in the air, and I was like, "No." Ooh. It's really scary because you can really see how high you are. I don't know how many
Yeah.
feet there you are. You're up there, and then you move as well. So once you get to and nobody in all of Oz, like that moment, you're rising like an extra 5, 10 feet, something like that, and you just go higher and higher and higher, because you're supposed to be getting like stronger and stronger and stronger. And we went higher and higher and higher, and I got weaker and weaker and weaker. I was like, maybe bring me down, bring me down, bring me down. Like,
I hate this.
I was screaming at the top of my lungs, just screaming, and then slowly it gets a little bit easier. But people don't realize there's really not much. If you open that skirt there's really not much between you and the ground. It's just a claw. They call it the cherry picker. It's just a claw, and the thing that's holding the claw up it's a rod that runs down your back and attaches to a steel foothold, which is about as big as my MacBook Air. My MacBook Air is about this big. My hands are there.
No.
It's that big. So it's enough. It's a little extra unless you got like real big old feet. Just enough for you to be standing on with your knees bent a little bit so you don't pass out while you're up there. And they were like, oh, by the way, you will also be like shaking. And I was like, I'm sorry, why? and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Trying to be chill. And when you're up there, when you rise, the entire machine is covered, right? And I feel like I'm ruining the magic, but the entire machine, and so many people that are watching this probably already know all this fun trivia, but I didn't. There's those beautiful, long, like feet of fabric that the shockwave, you can see the shockwave moving over.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be like she rises up and she just like is billowing, like she's just elongating, and it's an extension of Elphaba, and it's all of her magic, and she's the most powerful she's ever been, and it's really amazing because it's the end of the act. And there are men on the sides, on stage left and stage right, that are doing this to the fabric so that it ripples like this, so that the shock waves
And you're like,
ripple. I'm literally going, so if you care to find me, look to the western sky. Like I'm screaming. And I'm like, bring me down. Screaming out there and trying not to fall down. And it's a little less dramatic than that, but God, the first couple times I was like, how?
that sounds so scary.
Hilarious. But then once you're doing it, once you actually go up and the lights are on, you can see your conductor because there's a light on him in the pit, and you can see like the people below you. You can see the Aussians and maybe the first row. But once you're up there, you can't see a damn thing because it's just prism light all over you. You're lit from the sides, you're lit from behind, you're lit from the front, you're lit from the diagonal. It's like pretty much every light is like on Elphaba at that point, and it's wild. But yeah, just being like, bring me down, just shaking with these amazing crew members, just shaking this shit from the side of the stage. It's wild.
That is way crazier than what I thought it was.
It's fabulous.
That's so nuts.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to talk to you about Recovery Road.
Okay.
On Freeform.
Yeah.
So for those of you watching who don't know, it was a Freeform show. I was the reader for, I'm so sorry, I forget her name, the lead of the show.
Jessie Sula.
Yes.
Yes.
I was the reader to find her.
Because they'd filmed the pilot, and they said you have to recast the Recovery Road was a show about people in a recovery house recovering from addiction and alcoholism. And my fiance's calling me because he wants to know if I want Chipotle. Yes. Hey Siri, can you tell I do want Chipotle? Siri's actually listening. Sorry, Siri. I didn't mean it. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry.
Yes,
1 second.
Get your Chipotle,
oh my God.
girl.
He's not going to stop calling me. Hold on. He locked me out this morning. He locked me out on my patio this morning because he.
No.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. You're part of the Slumber Party now. What's up?
Oh, hi. Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you.
No, you're fine, love.
I didn't know what your order was.
Just surprise me. Black beans. Black beans and no rice.
Black beans, no rice. You
Okay.
got it, baby.
Yeah, okay. Love you. Bye. He's like,
Oh
oh,
my
sorry,
God.
because he. So I was doing a Zoom Q&A workshop thing this morning, and I was out on the patio because it was really nice, and I was like, you know what, my Wi-Fi's bad. Let me go inside really quick, and I went to grab it, and it was locked, and he had driven to work, and I was like, hi guys, I'm gonna have to call my fiance really quick, and I was like, hi honey, you locked me out again.
Oh, during the Zoom call, he liked you.
He came and like said hi to the Zoom call, gave me a kiss, said I love you, bye, shut the door, waved at me, looked me in the eye, and locked it. Like
Love
not
you.
because he's
You're
trying to
screwed.
trap me, but because it's like a knee jerk. He just like
Yeah,
automatically
yeah.
locks the door.
Just do it.
So I called him and I was like, baby,
You locked me
it's
out.
83 degrees at 10 a.m. Can you please let me back in? He was like, I'm at work. So he got our roommate to come open the door, thank God. But I was like, oh my God, sorry guys.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and he messaged me right before we did this, and he was like, "Slumber Party, what's that?" And I was like, "You'll see." And he was just like, "I want to do a slumber party."
Now he's
I was
on
like,
it.
"I
Now
know,
he's on
honey, Now
it.
you're here. So yeah, Recovery Road. They shot the pilot, and we're like, you have to recast the head of the recovery house, and then you have to recast the
The
Maddie
lead.
character, and then you have
Yeah.
to add another character, which was my character.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, oh my God, would that have been insane if you were my reader?
That would have been
I
really
don't think you
insane.
were, but
I
because
wasn't.
I got a
Yours was in
girl.
LA, right?
Yeah, mine was in LA.
This was in New York, and I was
That's right, 'cause she got
reading.
flown. She got flown
Yeah,
over.
and I talk about this moment so often. I teach
I
kids on
love
the
Jesse
side
Sula.
acting, and this was one of those things where I was like, I bring it up in almost every single acting
Yeah.
or auditioning class that we have, because it felt like we saw 300 girls over
Yeah.
the period of a week,
Yeah.
and a lot
And
of them
Jesse
like
walked in.
a lot of them like girls that I was a huge fan of, like Broadway
Yes.
stars,
Yeah.
like the girls that I would eventually see in Hamilton,
Yeah.
and
Girls that you would have been like, they should be perfect for this part. And then,
right, girls I'd seen in like Spring Awakening, and
yeah.
they were all good, and then but I remember it was like such a I will never forget this lesson. She just listened and reacted to me, and she like treated me like I was her
You were
scene
in.
partner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you were
not
filming it. You were the
like we were
cast
filming it.
actor. Yeah.
And this, I hope she's not mad that I give away this tea. I'm sure she won't care. She paraphrased so much of what was on the script, and because she just didn't want to look at it, and she was like,
Yeah.
"I'm just gonna lock eyes with you, and whatever you do, I'm going to
I'm here
react
with
to.
you.
I'm here
Yeah.
with you." And it was, I mean, it was chilling how good it was. Like we'd seen like 300 girls, and
Yeah.
suddenly it was so different when she was doing it. And
Yeah.
because she made it her own, literally, like she was
Yeah.
making up some of the words.
Yeah.
And when she was done, the casting director turned to me and she was like, "Can you just can you guys both just sit here for a second? I just need to run down the hallway real quick." And she went and got like the head of the casting
Yeah.
department or whatever, who was
Were
like,
Bert and Karen there as well, or no?
it was Allison Frank
Oh,
was
okay.
the assistant
Yeah. Bert and
who
Karen were our writers, and
oh, okay, no, they weren't
they were in the
there.
room for my audition.
They weren't there. It was like she went to go get the like head of casting who came in,
Wow.
and like the only girl of the 300 girls who was like, "Hey, it's so nice to meet you," and she like shook her hand and stuff and was
Yeah,
like,
that's
"We're gonna have you
magic.
do that again, and we're gonna whatever." And then when she left the room, the three of us, the head of casting,
You were like, found
me,
her.
and the other casting director, we all looked at each other. We were like,
Do
I
we
mean, that was
need
it,
anybody else?
right?
I
Yeah.
know. I know.
It was.
I've had two experiences like that for me that I was the
You
Jesse.
knew.
I
Yeah.
not even that I knew. It was just Wicked was one of them. Wicked was my first Broadway audition ever. And
What?
I know. I
You
know.
looked
I never got an opportunity to audition for Broadway. And it just never
I'm
came
gonna
down
cry.
there. I remember a couple years ago, I was asked to put something on tape for Beautiful, but that was like as far as it ever went for actually, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to move to New York as a non-equity actor and do the thing, which is, there's nothing wrong with doing the thing. But I was like,
Yeah.
I'm actually going to like really audition for Broadway. I'm going to have to move to New York, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that. And that was my plan when I got done with my ship, was that I was going to move to New York. And I had written down in my journal, I will live in New York by February 2020. That was my plan. I'm not kidding. And when I was 17, I saw Wicked for the first time, and Elphaba went up. I was in San Francisco with my mom, and Elphaba went up, and the lights went out, and I was unwell, and I cried, and my mom said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm going to do that someday." And that's in my bio in the Wicked thing. And then right below it is Jenna Claire's, and she has the same thing for Glinda. I know. And then lo and behold, I had new representation. God bless my agent. And she was like, "Do you want to do Broadway? Like, is that something you?" Because I'm bi-coastal. And I was like, "Yes." Oh my God, please. Like, I just want to be in the room. Like, so Aaron Burr, I just want to be in the room. I don't want to, I can be an understudy, for God's sake. I just want to be there. I just want to do it. I just want someone to see my headshot and resume and then maybe throw it away later. Like, that's all I want. It's all I want. It's all I want. I just want to be taken seriously. I wanted to start the relationships with casting so that if it was ever going to happen, like, they'd know me at least. Like, that's what I wanted. And I went in with my first audition, and they were like, "Can you come back on Wednesday?" And then I did that audition, and my friend happened to be there moderating the auditions, because he's really good friends with the casting director for Wicked at Telsey. And he was on the second day, the first day he was like calling everybody into the room. And the second day he was making sure people were coming in, and then also filming in the back corner. And he said that I walked out and they were like, "Broadway or tour?" Which makes me like want to cry.
How cool is that?
Yeah. And that they were just like so excited, because I went in and was just so ready. I had prepared for that audition so hard, and not to the point of like desperation, but just because I didn't want to make a fool out of myself. I knew I was going in with an agent audition as a nobody. I knew that I was going in like as a nobody in terms of New York credits. I knew I was going in completely unknown to them. I knew that they'd not seen me before, unless I blacked out one time and auditioned for Wicked. It was just one of those moments. And then another thing of like a week later, like I was like, great, I did my piece. I'm very happy with that. Like I didn't make a fool out of myself. And if they ever need somebody for like understudy in the 4th national tour in Canada, I'm there. Like I thought that I was gonna get like called back to and not that any other part is lesser than Elphaba, but I certainly did not think that I would be helming a Broadway production.
Yeah.
One of the hardest, most incredible female roles ever written. And they called me back a week later, the week after Thanksgiving. They were like, "Hey, something happened to the tape and something happened to the sound, like syncing with the video. Can you come back in and film?" But I had a gig that week. So every time that they could see me, I couldn't be seen. And someone, I don't know if it was me or if it was my agent, I think it was me. I was like, I could be seen at like anywhere from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I could do like 9:30. And they were like, "Great." And I thought that a lot of people were going in to re-audition. They were like, "We've hired," like they were telling my agent, "We've hired the same accompanist from the auditions. We have hired a reader. Everybody's going to come in early." I thought that multiple people were going to be, it was all to get me on tape to send it to Joe Mantello and Stephen Schwartz. And I got to tell you, that audition was like, in my mind, was not amazing. But I think because I did it at 9 a.m. or like 9:30 in the morning, it was like, well, if she can do it kind of at 9:30 in the morning. Yeah, I was like, I like accidentally flexed. Like I didn't mean to flex, but like I had work to do. I was going to be video game testing. Because you pay your bills
Oh,
however you fucking can in
yeah.
this industry. So I was
Yes.
going to be video game testing, and yeah, and I couldn't be there. I was supposed to be in Santa Monica from 10 a.m. to like 7 p.m. every day, video game testing. And
That's
instead
fucking
I got
magical.
Wicked. Yeah, and when I auditioned for Recovery Road, I've actually seen that audition because Burt Royal, who was the writer of the show, him and I have
I
become
didn't
friends.
realize that. He wrote
Yeah.
Dog Sees God?
Yes. Yeah. And he wrote Recovery Road. Now you
I
know. Now it's all coming together.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Burt Royal, we be through filming, we became really good friends, and he'd seen me in shows and For the Record in Los Angeles, and he said that him and Karen were so excited to see me in the audition room because the weekend before they had seen me at DBA on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood, not performing, but sitting in a booth with the other like For the Record actors who weren't on
Yeah.
that night. And they said that I was sitting on top of like the booth with a champagne glass in my hand, bless my drunk ass self, with a champagne glass in my hand, cheering on my cast and like being so excited for my cast. Oh, it's gonna make me cry because I love that cast. And they said that they had more fun watching me watch my friends than watching the show, which is like a lie because the show was fabulous. But that's like something where it's like, God, just always be like just try to be nice, like try to
Always.
be a good person to work
Always.
with. And then I walked in and they were talking to me about the show, and Bert was like, I messaged you on Facebook like a year ago. And I was like, you did? And he was like, yeah. And I have the message still on Facebook. He was like, we met briefly at For the Record. I had no idea who he was. Didn't know he was a writer for television and film. Didn't know he'd written Easy A. Didn't know that he'd written Dog Sees God. Didn't know anything about him. And he just gushed at me in this Facebook message. Was just so kind to me and so
Oh,
complimentary, and was like, "We have to do something together sometime." And I was like, "Yeah, amazing, totally."
that is
So that was me
fucking
walking into my
awesome.
Recovery Road audition, and I've seen my audition, and they said that the reason that audition was like, it was one of those things where I left the room and they were like, we just have to get like the higher ups to okay
Give you the
this,
thumbs up
to give me the
and we're
thumbs
in.
up. Yeah, was
Damn.
because I didn't look at my script once. I paraphrased. I didn't. The scene was a crying scene, and I thought the obvious choice would be to be completely overwhelmed and crying. So I was like, what do I do when I cry? I try to hold it in and I try not to look people that I'm crying over in the eye. So I'm like, my whole scene was me just like trying to keep my shit together.
Oh,
Never forget, and I'll never forget the reader. She was like kind of crying with me, and I was like, "It's fine, don't be upset." Like it was just such a magical thing, and I love hearing that story
yeah.
about Jessie because she's such a listener, and I think that's such an
Yes.
amazing acting. That's such an amazing thing to talk about with acting, and that's what I love to talk about with. There's so much prep you can do, but if
Yeah.
you get so caught up in like having the thing here, just be there. If you've done the prep, you can be in the scene. If you know where the scene has to go, if you know where the song
Just
has to go,
be
just
there.
be there. Just
We
do
get
it.
so caught up in this idea of
The
like showing them
words
what
and
they
the
want. Yeah, like
yeah,
I gotta
just
be what they want to see. And she was
yeah.
just walked in with such a cool confidence and was like, I know this well. I know it as well as I know
Yeah.
it, and I'm just gonna be here with you. And it was,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there were girls that were like great, but it just nothing. It was
It was
nothing
not it
compared
was
to it.
not the
It
part.
was
Yeah.
so magical.
Yeah.
We do have to end the live stream now, everybody, but
Fine.
we are then going to play some Slumber Party games. If you guys want to head over to Patreon, this will be up later tonight. But before we do leave, Lindsay, do you want to tell people where they can find you? Where they can
Ooh.
follow you if you want them to follow you?
Yes. Sure. Oh my God. Please come be my friends as I look up what my handles are. I'm not really active on YouTube. You can find me at Lindsay Heather Pierce pretty much everywhere except for Twitter, I think is Ms. Lindsay Pierce. Lindsay Heather Pierce is my Instagram handle. That's Lindsay with an AY. Pierce is Pearce. Yeah. That's it.
Yay! And
Yeah.
go ahead and subscribe to this channel.
Please do.
And if you're having fun, you want to have more fun with us and play Slumber Party games, head on over to my Patreon because we're about to play. Wait, let's have fun. All right, you guys. We'll see you later. Thank you so much for
Bye.
joining us.
This is
And I'm
amazing.
ending the stream,
Alive.
I
I'm gonna
think.
take a
Am
bite
I?
of this apple.